General Manager Chris Antonetti, who just wrapped up a furious week of action. For every general manager, I'm sure this is a crazy week because of so many possibilities. The ones that get reported, and the countless, hundreds, maybe thousands of conversations that don't come to fruition, but you have over the course of a year?
I think that's fair to say. I think general rule of thumb, for every 100 conversations you have, maybe you get one done. So if we got 2 trades done, then that means we probably had a lot more conversations.
Was this year more difficult, Chris, even going back to last year, with the addition of the second wild card? Rick and I were talking the other day. You could make a legitimate case that 12 of the 15 teams in the American League were still alive for a potential playoff spot. Does that make it more difficult, or the water's more muddied now?
It does in a lot of ways. I think anytime there's that difference between the number of buyers and sellers, it makes it a little bit of a tighter market. But I think what we saw this year, and a lot more activity compared to years past, we started to see major league players getting traded for major league players. Even on some contending teams, we obviously saw it with the Tigers. We saw it with Oakland in acquiring John Lester. They traded away some major league players. So I think teams are becoming more creative in trying to find ways to improve, especially under the new system.
Why is that, do you think?
Well, right now there is such a premium on prospects, and so many teams are, covet those young players that it becomes increasingly difficult. And in some cases, you may be able to get back a more established, younger major league player, or a guy who's in the arbitration years that teams may not value quite as highly as a prospect who's yet to arrive at the major league. So there are different opportunities, different ways to improve, but that's one trend I think we've seen over the last handful of years.
Bouncing ball in the hole, and Morrison is aboard with a base hit to start the 4th for Seattle.
Chris, were
you
surprised?
I leave after the first run scores, right?
Yes, don't worry.
So if they score, I'm out. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Were you surprised by all the action late today, going between that 3 and 4 o'clock hour?
A little bit. Only when, last year, the first year under the new system, it was a relatively quiet trade deadline. And fast forward to this year, and there were a flurry of deals. We actually had another 2 or 3 that were kind of pending in the last, half hour. So the last 5 to 8 minutes were quiet, but leading up to that, there were a lot of things that we were still contemplating at that point.
Have you ever seen anything like the Tigers did, bringing Austin Jackson out in a 2-0 count in the middle of the game and, taking their pitcher out?
I've never seen that. I mean, we had that awkward moment when we traded for Ubaldo, if you remember.
Right.
He was starting that game, and there was somebody else warming up in the bullpen at the same time he was pitching. He went on. We actually were completing the trade in the first inning. He was out there and threw 43 pitches.
Oh, I do remember that. Now that you said, I forgot that.
So not exactly like that, but I could understand. I'm sure there was a lot of anxiety. I think Dave Dombrowski in that game was walking up the tunnel because if he's still on the field at 4:01.
Oh, is that right? It's null and void?
No, there's no trade.
Oh, my goodness.
So if Jackson had to be off the field and off the Tigers roster for that trade to happen.
Deep left. Aviles runs back and makes the catch. I told Rick I was actually in the Seattle coach's room watching that unfold, and I've noted it was 4:50 or 3:53. There were 7 minutes to go, so they just barely got him off the field in time.
They weren't taking a lot of chances.
Say, well, we're going to give you a breather right now because you had 2 hitters, so now we're going to get a break because we're going to go to a pitching change.
Yeah, but we're actually going to be able to stay through this one.
Okay.
Give us a chance to talk to you, Chris. Let's talk about the deals that you were able to get done. And I know some fans are confused. Are we buying? Are we selling? Why are you trading, veterans? So give us kind of the thought process, moving Masterson, moving Cabrera.
Yeah, I think I tried to articulate it a little bit yesterday, but I think it's a little bit more nuanced than just buying and selling. I think as we went into the deadline, our goal was to improve. I mean, we spent a lot of time looking at trades and examining, how can we improve our major league team? We examined deals for guys that were on shorter-term contracts, guys that had multiple years of control, had a difficult time aligning on value. But what we were able to do, what we feel is, in as Drubal's case, starting there, we feel we've got 2 very capable major league shortstops in Jose Ramirez and Mike Aviles, and guys that have the opportunity to not only contribute for the balance of this season, but going into next year. And we were also at the same time, while having quality major league alternatives, we were able to get back a player in Zach Walters that we like. It's a switch-hitting middle infielder that's played a lot of shortstop, has played second base, has played third base, a little bit in the outfield with a lot of power. I mean, he hit 29 home runs in AAA last year, off to another big year in AAA this year. Has actually been up at the major leagues for a while. So he is a guy that we think will help us at some point this year and certainly next year. So,
at any certain position, do you see him at any one place or maybe any one of the three?
One of the things that attracted us to him was his versatility. We think he's an athletic guy, a versatile defender. I think one of their coaches said he can play any position on the diamond other than catcher. You put him out there, he's going to be fine. So he's got his most experience at short, again, then third and second, and a little bit of time in the outfield. He'll go to Columbus, probably get his feet wet at second base, get comfortable, have some stability there, then we may bounce him around after that.
Okay. Before we talk about Justin Masterson and that trade, let's tell you about the Cleveland Clinic. Call to the bullpen. Nick Hagedorn is coming on now for the Indians. Boy, did he have a terrific outing his last time coming out of the pen. A career-high 2 1/3 innings. And he's always pitched well against the team he grew up cheering for in Seattle, Washington. So hopefully Hagedorn up for the challenge once again here tonight. 1 on, 1 out here in the 4th inning. And Endy Chavez will be the batter as you see Hagedorn coming on for the 14th time this year. And as you talk about the Masterson trade, Rick mentioned it. Two veteran guys who've been here, leaders in their own way in the clubhouse. So that made it probably doubly difficult.
Oh, it was incredibly hard. On a personal level, it was incredibly hard. I think, to part ways with guys that have been here for so long. And in Asdrubal's case, he was our longest tenured guy. And, had been here for the postseason in 2007, came up that year, made a big impact.
Playing second base, right.
Last year last year continued that, helped lead us back to the postseason. So a guy that gained a tremendous amount of respect through our clubhouse for his intensity, how tough he was. He always wanted to be on the field, desperately wanted to win every game. And, that's a presence we're going to miss. And, I'm not sure there's enough kind words to say about Justin Masterson and how good a person not only he is, but his wife Meryl and the family and the impact they've made on the entire organization and the Cleveland community. That's the difficult part of this job,
sure
the business part of the job and the personal relationships. But as we told those guys, it's, the relationships don't end. The uniforms may change, but the relationships don't end. But in both cases, though, both guys, I think it, accomplished two things. One, it helped us, both what we view in the near term moving forward, but also helps them. In Masty's case, no one envisioned this year unfolding the way it did for him.
Right.
We all, thought that he would, again, anchor our staff and pitch at an extraordinarily high level like he did last year. For whatever reason, that didn't happen. And so this gives him the opportunity to go and start fresh with the Cardinals, hopefully get on a little bit of a run. And in return, we get back an upper-level outfielder that we like. And we think, again, is another one of those players that has a chance to impact our major league team here in the near future.
And both these guys were going to be free agents anyway.
Right.
And Masterson wasn't going to sign right back here because you had talks earlier, and that was going to be tabled.
Right.
So you
and
get
that was
something in return.
That was one of the considerations. As you looked at it, both guys in all likelihood wouldn't have been here beyond this year. And so now we do, in addition to not really impacting our major league team on the field, we were able to get back a couple of guys that will hopefully help us moving forward.
Hagedorn facing Dustin Ackley in there for a strike. If I remember right, it was a year ago. You got Mark Zipchinski in a trade in the month of August. So you've been able to make deals in the post non-waiver trading period. Can you handicap the likelihood of something transpiring this year?
It's a mouthful to say, by the way, isn't it?
That's
a hard one.
Sure I know what I'm saying.
You got it right, I think. It is in August. It is a little bit more difficult to make trades because players have to either go through waivers or you have to be the claiming team with the worst record in order to be eligible to trade for the guy. So if 5 teams put in waiver claims on a player, only the team with the worst record of those 5 can negotiate a trade. If it doesn't happen, the player has pulled back off waivers and he stays with the team he's on. So it gets more complicated, but every year there are waiver deals. And so we'll be monitoring the waiver wire, and again, if there's ways where we can improve, we'll look to do that.
The batter, Chris Taylor, already 2 for 2 with a run scored tonight. Is there one particular position that you really want to upgrade if you could over any other?
We actually examined a ton of things. I think we looked at ways to improve our offense. We looked at ways to improve our starting pitching. We didn't spend quite as much time on the bullpen, but our rotation and then finding a way to to improve our position player club were things we spent time on. Obviously with Michael Bourne being down in the outfield, Chris Dickerson has come up and done a good job, but it's a place where we may not have had as much major league ready alternatives. So that's a place where we spent some time.
Well, there's a lot of young kids in that pitching rotation now that have an opportunity to open some eyes.
Yes,
it's like
absolutely.
a golden opportunity. And unfortunately for McAllister tonight, it didn't work. And in his last start, it didn't work. But this is an opportunity for guys to step forward and show you what they have.
Absolutely, and that's that's paramount for our success. As we start to not only look at the balance of the remaining few months of this season, and hopefully if we play well in the postseason, but as we look forward, this is a young group of starters, doesn't have a lot of major league experience, but they prove they're capable, and hopefully they continue to improve, get better, and help us win games at the same time.
Chris, thanks so much for stopping by. We appreciate your time. Best of luck the rest of the way.
My pleasure, guys. Thank you.
Tribe General Manager Chris Antonetti. We are tied at 4 as we go to the bottom of the 4th.